Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel where we explore and discuss various aspects of the English language. Today, we have 4 interesting phrases to delve into, so let's not waste any time and get started. First up, we have the expression, point someone in the right direction. This phrase means to provide guidance or information to help someone make a correct or informed decision or to find their way toward a solution or goal. It's like giving someone the necessary information or advice to help them move forward in a positive and productive way. For example, imagine you're in a new city and got lost. A friendly local might point you in the right direction to the nearest subway station. Or, if you're looking for a good book to read, I can point you in the right direction with some recommendations. Teachers can also point struggling students in the right direction by offering extra study materials and tutoring. Next, we have the phrase, take into consideration. This means to think about or include something as a factor or aspect when making a decision, judgment, or assessment. It implies that you are giving due thought or importance to a particular piece of information, concern, or perspective. For instance, when choosing a new car, it's essential to take into consideration factors like fuel efficiency, safety features, and your budget. Committees should take into consideration all the feedback received from stakeholders before finalizing a project plan. And judges need to take into consideration all the evidence presented in a case before making a ruling. Moving on to our third phrase, scratch the surface. This is an idiom that means to only explore or understand a very small or superficial part of something, without delving deeply into its complexities or details. It suggests that there is much more beneath the surface that has not been uncovered or examined. For example, if you've been studying history for years, but you feel like you've only scratched the surface of the subject, there's so much more to learn. An initial investigation might only scratch the surface of corruption within a company, requiring a more thorough inquiry. When you travel as a tourist, you often only scratch the surface of a culture. Living there is a completely different experience. Lastly, let's talk about the phrase, not really. It's used to indicate a negative response to a question or statement, but it often implies a degree of uncertainty or a lack of strong negation. It suggests that the answer or statement is not entirely false, but it may not be entirely true either. Not really can be used to convey a sense of mild disagreement or qualification. For example, if someone asks if you're a fan of horror movies, you might respond with, not really. But I'll watch them occasionally with friends. Or if someone claims they're good at cooking, you might say, not really, you've improved, but there's still room for improvement. And if someone asks if you enjoyed a concert, you could reply with, not really, the band wasn't as good as I expected. That's it for today's exploration of these 4 phrases. I hope you found this explanation informative and helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more English language content. Thanks for watching, and now let's dive into Power English together. Enjoy.
Chose this topic this month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I know you're an avid book reader.
Ah, yes.
You know, and you do, like, how many books do you read in, like, a week?
In a week? Oh, goodness. I don't know. It depends on how busy I am, how big the book is.
How about a month?
I mean, in a month, at least 2. If they're smaller, 3 or 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
But, I don't know. I like to read.
Yes. Good for you. Good for you.
So, I wish I could do it more, but it's hard to do traveling. I'm someone who gets sick when they're on a bus.
Oh,
so I can't read. Like, I was riding the bus here to the studio. Someone sitting beside me was just, like, reading a novel.
And on the bus?
On the bus.
I would get so car sick.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I could do that, I would probably... Like, I can't even look at my phone on the bus.
Or how about on the subway?
Subway's better.
Better, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Train, subway. How about airplane?
Oh,
no?
Airplane's hard sometimes.
Okay, because I've like finished a whole novel in an airplane
Really?
before.
Ah, you're so lucky.
That's the only way I can read.
when you're up in the sky and there's no internet.
No one. Yeah, and I'm all alone.
And someone else is bringing you food.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So the mama has to read. All right. Our topic is joining a book club. There are lots of people who enjoy reading books and like to be in a book club.
Yeah.
Point me in the right direction. So if you say to someone, point me in the right direction, are you lost?
Not in the real sense, like you don't know turn right, turn left.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be used in that way.
Yeah.
But it's often lost in the way of, I don't know what to do next.
Okay.
Give me some guidance.
Some guidance, okay. Another expression that we're going to take into consideration is the expression take into consideration.
To consider, to think about, to have it a part of your thought process, often while you're trying to make a decision.
All right. And how about scratch the surface?
It means you're only starting to learn about something or look at something. It's only the superficial top layer that you have looked at.
All right, very good. So let's go ahead and listen to our first dialogue about joining a book club.
Dahlia, you belong to a book club, right? I'm looking for one to join.
Actually, I've run my own book club for 3 years. We read historical romance novels. I don't suppose that interests you.
Not really, but maybe you could point me in the right direction.
I'll do my best. But there's a lot to take into consideration before joining one.
You mean there's more to know than just what genre of books a club reads?
Oh, yeah. You're barely scratching the surface.
Okay, here we go. Robert says, Dahlia, you belong to a book club, right? I'm looking for one to join. And Dahlia says, actually, I've run my own book club for 3 years. We read historical romance novels. I don't suppose that interests you. Okay, so, book clubs are all different.
Yes.
You've got more the academic book clubs or the classical or like thrillers. There are different genres. So I think, you find one that suits you. So Dahlia says, oh, I have my own. And they're historical romance novels. One book that I loved was The Outlanders.
What is that about?
Outlanders, it's actually a Netflix special as well. They made it into a movie, like drama series. But it's a historical romance novel. It's about, it's really good.
It's like a Jane Austen sort of?
It's the Scottish Highlands. And a woman travels back in time and meets, a Scottish Highlander.
With like a kilt and a bagpipe.
Yeah, and fall in love.
Oh my goodness.
And then there's like war going on.
There's always war. It's always like romance, but it's like, he goes off to war.
Well, war makes everything so much more dramatic. Okay. Now, I don't suppose that interests you. She asks this question. What does this mean? I don't suppose that interests you? What is she saying?
I don't suppose that interests you means that I don't think that you would be interested.
Would you be?
Would you be?
Yeah. Okay. And Robert says what?
Not really, but maybe you could point me in the right direction.
Okay. So when he says not really, he could say no.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I'm not interested in historical romance novels. But Robert says not really instead, which is our power pattern.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
So it is declining or saying, no, that's not right. But this is something that kind of softens a way of saying, ooh, yeah, that's not for me at all.
Oh.
Right?
Oh,
so with Robert, he probably doesn't really like historical romance novels. But instead of saying, yeah, no, I hate them.
Yeah.
He's just saying, not really.
Not really.
It's a way of softening that.
That's right. Because not really, actually, inside the meaning here is like, no, I really don't like it.
Yeah, that's awful. That sounds terrible.
It's terrible. Right. And Robert kind of switches gears. He changes direction. Maybe you could point me in the right direction.
Yeah.
So his whole answer is very soft.
Yeah.
Not really, but maybe you can point me in the wrong direction instead of saying, oh, I hate it.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah.
So here, point me in the right direction means, can you give me some advice? Can you tell me where to look for something else? So Dahlia, even though her book club is about historical romance novels, she probably has some knowledge about either other book clubs or ways to find other book clubs.
Right. So if you point someone in the right direction, it's just like even in the office, like maybe you're a new office worker and you don't know your way around. And you might ask someone, to point you in the right direction.
Right. Oh, the copier is out of toner. Where do I go? Can you point me in the right direction?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the supply closet.
Yeah.
Go down the hallway.
Right.
On the left.
On the left.
Yeah.
And you'll see like a big box.
Yeah.
It's all in there. So then Dahlia says, I'll do my best, but there's a lot to take into consideration before joining one. Okay, so Dahlia's like, yeah, I'll help you if I can. But she says there's a lot to take into consideration. So you really need to really think kind of carefully.
Yeah.
What is take into consideration?
Take into consideration means to think about something when you're making a decision. So she's saying that when you are trying to decide which book club to join, there are many factors that you want to look at. Don't make this decision very simply, very quickly.
Yeah.
You want to take into consideration things like size of the group, when they meet, what type of things they talk about.
Right. What kind of books do they choose?
What are the ages and genders of the members?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big step. Okay. And Robert says, you mean there's more to know than just what genre of books a club reads?
Yeah.
Okay, so Robert thinks, I like thrillers. So why don't I join a book club where people like to read thrillers? Okay? That's what he's saying.
Yes.
You mean there's more to know? You mean there's more?
Yeah.
I need to think about something else?
It's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not that simple.
It's more complicated.
Right. And genre, of course, is a French word for
type.
Yeah.
But it's often when we're talking about arts.
Yeah.
So here, the pronunciation is very important.
장르.
Yeah,
In
in Korean
Korean.
you say 장르.
장르.
And I don't think many native speakers would be able to pick out the word
No.
you're trying to say.
Yeah.
So the American English way of pronouncing that is genre. It's not genre. Some people do say it like that. But most often it's genre.
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 Genre. That is very French.
Okay. And Dahlia says, oh, yeah, you're barely scratching the surface. So Dahlia says, oh, there's more to just the genre.
Yeah.
You're barely scratching the surface. What does this mean?
To scratch the surface means to start, but it's still very shallow. You're not going deep yet into the real big, important part of something.
Yeah.
So you're just scratching the surface.
That's right. You're just seeing a little part of a big part.
Yes.
Okay. Let's read that one more time.
Dahlia, you belong to a book club, right? I'm looking for one to join.
Actually, I've run my own book club for 3 years. We read historical romance novels. I don't suppose that interests you.
Not really, but maybe you could point me in the right direction.
I'll do my best. But there's a lot to take into consideration before joining one.
You mean there's more to know than just what genre of books a club reads?
Oh, yeah. You're barely scratching the surface.
Okay, let's have a quick review. Our first expression is to point someone in the right direction. It means to give someone advice.
Yes.
Okay? Or guidance. There are so many design options for building websites. I don't know where to start.
I can point you in the right direction based on your skill level.
Okay. So I don't know anything about this. And then you say, I'll help you.
Yeah.
Let me guide you.
Yeah, maybe I have some, expertise in building websites, so
Right.
I can tell you where to start.
I think the difference here saying when someone says point you in the right direction, it's more like, here, let me lead you. This is a good place to start. Doesn't mean that they're going to help you for the whole thing.
Yeah, they're not your tutor.
That's right.
That you're meeting every week.
Right.
It's just like, hey, maybe you should try this book.
Right.
Something like that.
That's right. Okay. I pointed my mom in the right direction when she signed up for an email account. So, what maybe did I do?
Yeah, so maybe your mom's like, I want an email. How do I email? I would like to receive an email.
Yeah.
And say like, okay, mom, you need to go to the website. Put in your information.
Yeah. And this is a good website. I like how they work. It's pretty secure. So all you have to do is go to the sign up page, put in your information. So you're pointing her in the right direction and she will do the rest.
Right. She's doing it by herself, but you're telling her where to start.
Yes, that's right. So point someone in the right direction. So sometimes, there are things like maybe you want a career change and you really want to become a webtoon artist. Okay?
Yeah.
You've never done it before.
Yeah.
And you're like, how do I get started? Where do I even begin? Do I need to go to school? Do I need to do an internship? Like, do I need to learn how to draw? So maybe you know someone who's kind of in the industry and they will point you in the right direction.
Yes.
Maybe they'll say, well, you should first of all sign up for a class. Then after that, you're on your own.
Right.
Okay.
I'm not helping you with everything.
That's right.
Just the first step.
Right, that's right. It's kind of like helping someone with the first few steps.
Yes.
Take into consideration.
It's something that you're thinking about when you are making a decision.
Okay. All right. I can't decide between Canada and Thailand for my vacation.
Did you take into consideration the weather in both places at that time? Yeah. When you are making the decision between Canada and Thailand, to be honest, that's probably the first thing you would take into consideration.
Yeah.
The climate is very different.
Sure.
Canada is in the northern hemisphere, and Thailand is in...
It's tropical.
It's tropical, yeah. It's pretty much hot all the time.
That's right. Okay. Very, very important to do, especially when you're traveling to any place. Take into consideration the climate. Take into consideration
the distance.
The flight time.
The expense.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
We must take into consideration cultural differences when traveling abroad.
Yeah. So whenever you're traveling abroad, like for example, as an American or as a Korean, in your own culture, sometimes there are things that are rude, right? Like when I'm talking to an American and an American does something I find rude, I would get mad.
Yeah.
But when someone from another culture does the same action, I have to take into consideration that the culture is different and be more understanding.
That's right.
Like, it would be rude for me, but they have a different culture, so I can't necessarily be rude. Like, be mad about it.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, I think, so important because, a lot of people have first impressions of, or impressions or stereotypes of travelers. And then if those travelers keep doing the same thing, they don't take into consideration the local culture, then it builds a bad reputation.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So we must take into consideration cultural differences. Let's give just one more example.
So when you're dealing with children, you have to take into consideration their age when you're talking to them.
Yeah.
For example, how you expect a 5-year-old to act and how you expect a 10-year-old to act, that, that's something you have to take into consideration. You know,
Yeah.
if a 5-year-old is crying and a 30-year-old is crying,
30-year-old.
that is a very different situation.
All right. Okay. Very good point. Scratch the surface means to just see the superficial aspects of something, meaning just kind of the outside of something. I read a short biography about Tesla by Evan Jones. It was interesting.
That book only scratches the surface. You need to read the book by Bill Pittner.
Okay. All right. If the book only scratches the surface, it's saying it's just general stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't go very deep or detailed.
Yeah, it's kind of shallow. A university education only scratches the surface. You have to get real-world experience.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I don't know if I learned anything in university that I use.
Me too.
Or needed.
Well, I mean, maybe for me, maybe writing a little bit helped me to write an essay, but I don't write essays. I write dialogues.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, okay. All right, not really is our power pattern. What is not really saying?
So oftentimes we use it to mean, oh yeah, not at all, in a softer way.
Yes, that's right. Not really. I work too much to take vacations.
Not really, but I'll check my schedule and see when we can meet.
Okay, very good. And our power vocab today is genre.
Yes.
Which is genre.
Yeah.
Yes. Do check out the definition on page 24. Let's thank our sponsor.
한국토익위원회에서 취업과 승진을 위한 토익 스피킹